Hello everybody, I'm Elise from the blog LesPetitesSaintsCrochet.com, and today we are going to jump right into the fundamentals of amigurumi, and we are going to learn how to make a magic ring. The magic ring is a fundamental technique that you need to learn how to do to be able to crochet toys. Almost every part of this little guy is made with a magic ring. From the top of his head, you can see the little ring right there, to his ears actually are made with a magic ring. Even his little arms right there, that's all made with a magic ring. So let's go ahead and get started. You're going to need a handful of things to be able to make a magic ring. You're going to need yarn. You're going to need a hook and some scissors. I am using a worsted weight yarn and a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook. You can find links to everything in the description box below in case you want to find out what yarn I'm using, the exact crochet hook, anything that I mentioned in the video, you can find it there. So the first thing we're going to do is find the end of our yarn. It's really important that we're working from the end here, and I want you to place your end of your yarn in your palm like this, and we're going to use our thumb to hold it in place with our forefinger. And we're going to take our other hand and wrap this around our top 3 fingers, bringing it around this direction. Then we're going to cross this yarn strand with the other yarn strand, and we're making like a little X. And you can see it right here. So we have an X with our yarn. I'm going to hold it with my thumb and forefinger. I'm going to tighten it up just a little bit. I'm holding it with my thumb and forefinger right on the cross of that X. I'm going to turn my hand over and bring the other strand all the way around, and I'm holding it with my pinky finger here. You should have 2 parallel lines here, and I'm going to go ahead and go under the first strand like this, and I'm going to grab the other strand and bring it underneath, and I'm going to twist it clockwise this way. Now the next thing you're going to do is come up under the left strand of the yarn, and you're going to grab the loop and you're going to pull it all the way through. And now we have a loop right here. So now we are going to take our loop off of our hand. And sometimes that feels kind of scary, but just trust me here. So you've got this. This is absolutely not going to come off if you've got your loop right there. What we're going to do now is we are going to take our working yarn. This is called our working yarn. We're going to wrap it around our pinky, pull it through and underneath our first finger. I'm going to show you one more time. We're going to take that working yarn, wrap around the pinky and underneath the first finger to hold. Now that we have our magic ring, you want to make sure that you keep the tail to the left hand side of your work. Almost all patterns in amigurumi are going to start with something like make 6 single crochet in a magic ring, and the number can vary. It can be 5 single crochet, it could be 8 single crochet, and the number doesn't really matter. The technique is exactly the same. So I'm going to readjust my working yarn. And what I'm going to do is I like to keep this ring finger inside the magic ring to give myself a little tension, and then I like to hold the actual loop up here underneath the crochet hook with my middle finger and my thumb. That gives me a lot more control. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to place that middle finger back inside the ring. I am going to take this crochet hook and I'm going to use my index finger to hold the loop that's on here. I'm going to go inside the magic ring and I'm going to pull my working yarn through. And so now I have 2 loops on my crochet hook. I'm going to, this is called yarning over, and I'm going to pull it through both of those loops. So that's our first single crochet. So we count that as number 1. We're going to start again. We're going to take our hook underneath inside the ring. We're going to pull our yarn through. We're going to yarn over and pull through both of those loops. So we're going to make 6 just so that I can show you exactly how we do it. So I start off with both of these fingers inside my ring. I bring it inside the ring, grab my working yarn, pull it up, and I always like to keep my index finger of my right hand holding on to that one stitch. Then I'm going to yarn over and pull it through. And at some point you may need to adjust your working yarn in your hand. So we now have 3 single crochets, and single crochets look like the letter V, and you can see them very distinctly when you look at your work. So we're going to go ahead and go back into our magic ring, pull our working yarn through, yarn over and pull through both of those loops. We now have 1, 2, 3, 4. We do that again, go back into the ring, pull our yarn, pull through. We have 5 stitches now, and we're going to go back under, pull up our loop and pull through both of our loops. Now we have 6 stitches in our magic ring, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this loop up. This is my working loop right here, and I'm just going to pull it up for a second. What we're going to do is we're just going to kind of get our tail untangled. Sometimes it gets a little tangled in there, so we're going to get that untangled. We're going to reinsert our hook into our loop, and using your working yarn, just pull that. Now you can hold your stitches and your hook in your right hand. We're going to get our little tail here, and while holding your stitches, pull your tail, and it's going to close our ring almost all the way closed. But I'm going to show you exactly how to finish that here in a second. So from this point forward, we are going to look at 3 different ways that you may finish your magic ring. So we're going to start with the most common, and that usually is that you just continue crocheting in each one of these stitches. So remember, we talked about that our stitches are shaped like a V, and what we are going to be doing is putting our crochet hook underneath those V's. I'm going to pull up this loop, and I want you to really see what I'm talking about here. Right here is beneath our V. So here's our V. We're going to go in this space right here so that we can make our first single crochet in the next round. And when you're working your pattern, this is going to be the first stitch on your next round. So we're going to push our crochet hook under there, and so I want you to really be able to see that my crochet hook is underneath those 2 V's of our first stitch. You will find that this is the most common way that an amigurumi pattern is going to continue after you make that magic ring. So now we are going to just yarn over again, grab our yarn, pull it through underneath your stitch there, and now you have your 2 loops. And again, we're going to yarn over and pull through both of those stitches. That is the first way. That is the most common way. That is how I typically find patterns when I am making amigurumi. This would be considered your first stitch in your next round. And I'm going to show you the next most common way that we would proceed in our amigurumi pattern. So we're basically going to be doing the same thing. So instead of single crocheting, we are going to slip stitch. So this is our first stitch in our magic ring that we made. That's the first single crochet that we made when we started our magic ring. So we are going to put our crochet hook exactly in the same place when we were going to single crochet. But what we're going to do is we're going to yarn over, we're going to pull it through. Now instead of yarning back over like we did before, we're just going to take this loop that we have and we're going to pull it through. Now most patterns are now going to have you chain 1 at this point. Those are the 2 most common ways that you are going to see patterns written for continuing with the amigurumi pattern. Now I'm going to show you what you would do if you needed to finish this magic ring. For example, if you were going to make a cheek of a little toy. So this is an example of what I mean, that if you were to make a little applique cheek for one of your toys and you actually have to finish off your magic ring. So this is what this looks like with little Agatha here. This is from the pattern Animal Friends Peak Pattern. pow. So what I've done is I took out that stitch and I'm just back to my magic ring is closed. And what I am doing now is I'm going to show you how we would finish this if we were going to make the cheek. So we would do exactly what we did just a second ago, and we would slip stitch. So that means we're going to go under that single crochet, that V. We're going to yarn over, pull it through, and then we will pull it through again, and we have slip stitched. Now what we would do here, we're going to get our scissors, we're going to cut a tail, and then we're going to pull this all the way through. So now you have two tails. You have the one that is from the original, and now we have our one here. So we're going to start with the one in the back. The one in the back, we are going to take that tail and we're going to give it a nice firm tug, because this is going to close the ring very tightly and you are not going to see a hole right there. Now I'm going to thread my needle, and we need to weave in our yarn end. And make sure that we're doing this on the back side. So this is our front, and the tail is coming out of the back. So as long as the tail is coming out of the back, you know you're in the correct spot. We're going to go under a couple of these stitches. Now this can get really tight, but we're just going to pull this through. We're going to cut it very close to the edge without cutting the actual magic ring. So now we've gotten rid of our tail here. Now we need to deal with our yarn that we have left over. So we're going to go ahead and thread this again. And what I'm going to do is I am going to go into this stitch that's right next to it. Basically, I'm going to go underneath both of those V's like I did before. I'm just going to pull it over here. This just finishes off your little magic ring here very neatly. I hope you enjoyed this video today. I hope this tutorial was helpful to you. If you would please give this video a like and hit that subscribe button, that would be amazing. I make lots of videos, lots of tutorials all about amigurumi, so check that out. And I'm going to leave you with a couple other videos that I think you might be interested in. And I will soon be making more videos in the Amigurumi Fundamentals series, and I hope that you will check them out too as soon as I make them. Thanks so much and happy stitching.